Hello everybody, this is Debo's Movie Reviews here, and this week's review will be Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, starring Harrison Ford as Dr. Henry Indiana Jones Jr., Sean Connery as Professor Henry Jones Sr., along with John Rhys Davies as Sala, Julian Glover as Walter Donovan, Allison Doody as Elsa Schneider, and River Phoenix as young Indy. Talk about one of the most iconic sequels and my personal favorite of the Indiana Jones movies. Kind of like, kind of right up there with Raiders and Dial of Destiny. Say, save Dial of Destiny for a later review, of course, but of course, Last Crusade is the best one. Just probably how everyone was perfectly cast. And funny how you noticed how Connery did this, but was in this as his dad, despite only being like only a couple years younger, only like a few years, just a few years younger than Harrison Ford. And then of course, you got Allison Doody, who happened, who also was in License to A View to a Kill, which was a Roger Moore Bond movie. And the second time she worked with a Bond, but being Connery this time around. And talking about just how perfectly cast everybody was. I mean, just excellent story, action. I mean, just from the beginning where you had young starts with young Indy in his Boy Scout days and comes across the Coronado Cross, and of course he acquires it and has a whole chase. Then you learn why his fear of snakes came from being in that falling into a snake pit on a circus train, getting chased by mercenaries after he stole the Coronado Cross, which of course at the beginning, when it flashes the present day, which this time is 1938, you have him at you have him to go into, well, damn, well, I'll say, yeah, he's having a final showdown with that guy they were working for. And then, of course, after earlier in the beginning of the flashback, where he gets the hat from one of the mercenaries, and he's all, "Hey, you did a good job, but I mean, I had to give him the whole, I had to take it back, but I had to apologize, I'll give you my hat kind of speech." Then, of course, he had the whole deal where he eventually brings it home, then, which of course Indy could not pull his dad away from his studies and all. Which, if you follow the young Indiana Jones storyline series, it kind of like a timeline shortly after his mom's passing, and how estranged they became after it, which led to his running away to join Pancho Villa and move to Belgium and of course go to World War One. I mean, yeah, which is excellent. Which the young Indiana Jones Adventures were about as equally on par with the Harrison Ford movies. Yeah. And surprisingly, one time, which started to kind of like a trend, noticing except for like Temple of Doom, where in this one where it didn't have Karen Allen in it, which of course Indiana Jones like a prequel to Raiders, where he hooked up with that god awful Willie Scott. I mean, just worst character in that franchise. And say what you want about Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny, but hey, at least she wasn't in those. Though I could have liked to seen a reunion and after all these the two old man Indiana Jones takes of how whatever happened to Short Round. I mean, come on, people. Oh, The Last Crusade. I got to give it to Julian Glover. He was always knocked it out of the park at being Alias villain from like that from Last Crusade to For Your Eyes Only. A bit part in Empire Strikes Back as a Imperial Walker officer. And the acting chemistry between Ford and Connery. Man, talk about how superior that was. How perfectly cast. And of course, with this time they both reunite on over to Quest for the Grail with Marcus Brody, who played by the always excellent Denholm Elliott, which is one of his best, which is pretty much what I know him for. That being in Raiders and Last Crusade, and if he was still alive, he probably would have been in Crystal Skull or Dial of Destiny. And of course, along with John Rhys Davies as Sala, which is pretty much one of his best 80s roles. Which another favorite was General Pushkin in Living Daylights, which if you want more on that, I got a video for it, so. And and of course, one I'd say that the only flaw was that I wish that motorcycle chase was a bit longer. I mean, but it was epic, kind of like that one scene where he's shooting those two Nazi guards that when he's rescuing his dad, and then the whole twist where Elsa Snyder turns evil, which of course subverts a trope from the earlier two where Indy doesn't get the girl. And which is surprising from this if you only count the original trilogy as canon, because you don't see no other girl coming to take her place, kind of like from his many adventures and all. Hell. But they did have good chemistry for it. He and Elsa had good chemistry before they turned, and then of course they had the old epic scene of the scene where they're at the temple and of course find that night, and the whole hoops they had to jump through there. Man, talk about iconic that was. With the ending of Ride Out in the Sunset, thinking he wouldn't be no more, but after nostalgia and popular demand, they had to bring him back, which Harrison Ford was quick to jump to it because before Dial of Destiny they wanted to reboot it, but Harrison Ford was like, And I'll give it to Harrison, to how perfectly cast Harrison Ford was, because I could overlook his disdain for being Han Solo for how much he defends Indy. And from his whip action to those shootouts, like one I mentioned, and then there's that one in the tank rescue scenario where after Brody gets captured and they have to rescue him, and the whole scene of the horses and the tank, and then that one scene where he comes across two Jerrys and shoots them both with a P-38, bullet going for one and hitting the other. Overall, a definite 5 out of 5 from the storyline to the acting chemistry. I mean, just, you had that, and the whole flying scene, which hilariously Henry Jones, old Indy Connery, shoots the rudder and then blames him on Jerry. And of course, they get that car, and then they get chased by another German, or Jerry. And who'll talk about the look that pilot got when he realized he was in that tunnel. Lost his wings, was going shooting for that tunnel before he blew up. Talking about one of the most "I'm dead and I know it" scenarios. And woo. But overall, a definite 5 out of 5 masterpiece. The best of the franchise, and an overall great iconic movie of the 80s.